Hello, everyone. If you've landed here and you hear my voice, you are at Let's Talk News, and I'm your host, Leticia Romero. And today we're going to talk about the U.S. attorneys and the Senate and the blue slips and how the Democrats are trying in other ways to stop Trump from being president. You would have never thought that that could happen, would you? But this is the age we live in, the age when if you don't win an election, you throw yourself on the ground and throw a hissy fit. And you throw monkey wrenches into anything that president who did win does. And the American people are supposed to sit there and take it. And that is what we're in today. We are in a situation where the Democrats didn't win, but they're going to try to do an end run against President Trump by not appointing U.S. attorneys, which is really, really interesting, considering that U.S. attorneys, their jobs are to protect America and Americans from things like, oh, I don't know, civil rights violations, environmental issues, kind of all the things that Democrats support. But the senators are blue slipping the president's appointments. Hello, Colleen. Good to have you with us tonight. And I hope it won't, I love it being just you and I, but I hope that others join us. You and I can have a conversation about this stuff all night long without a problem. But it seems like it's just us here tonight. And I'm guessing everybody is doing their Christmas shopping or their holiday shopping. And I believe tonight is the first night of Hanukkah. So to all of my Jewish friends, happy Hanukkah. And to my Jewish family, happy Hanukkah. So anyway, Colleen, we're talking about the fact that Alina Habba has resigned as U.S. Attorney for New Jersey. And she's resigned because a federal judge said that her appointment was illegal. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I was absent last night. That's okay. You get a pass. No problem. Happy Hanukkah, little lovely. Good to have you with us. So the thing is that these blue slips, it's frustrating Trump a lot. And what basically, for those of you who don't know what a blue slip is that when there is an appointment by a president of a judge or an attorney or such, the senators from that state, all the senators get a blue slip, and you can either put positive or negative, but they won't. It's been since like 1917 that if the senator from the state, just one, gives a negative blue slip on the appointment, then the appointment doesn't go through. And Grassley explains it as that's because it won't pass if that senator says no. But when you have the majority, you would think that it would pass. But we're in a very interesting scenario these days where we don't have a clear majority. We don't have 60 in the Senate. And so I'm just going to delete this disgusting comment. I do believe in free speech, but we don't need to have disgusting comments on my page. So since we don't have 60, a lot of things can't actually get passed. So what Trump was asking Grassley to do was overturn these blue slips. They had been done in the past. And Grassley is basically saying that when Biden was appointing people and and the Republic, or was it Biden? I can't remember. In the past, the Republicans didn't allow certain appointments, and so that's why there's so many appointments for Trump right now. I don't know um, what the heck is going on and why Grassley would stand on ceremony, and I don't know why. Um, just like with the budget, right, or the CR, the continuing resolution, we got there eventually after the Democrats, made hay for nothing and made all the people suffer. But for these appointments, I don't know why we wouldn't work harder. I feel like the Senate is just not working hard enough to push forward the Trump agenda, and that is really pissing me off because you know 73 million people voted for him. There was a clear majority in the United States for him. How is it that the Senate is not carrying his water? It's just pissing me off at this point. Hi, Kevin. Good to have you with us. Andrew Dorman, good to have you. Do we need 60 for budget appropriations? Yes, definitely 60 for budget appropriations. And that's the whole thing is, there are certain, and I'm not going to say that I'm an expert at the Senate. I'm not. And maybe I should have read up a little bit more on how many votes you actually need to do business when it comes to appointments. I thought it was a simple majority, but I may be misunderstood. I might be mistaken about that. But here's the whole thing is that these Democrats are standing in the way of this appointment because they're saying that Habba does not have enough prosecutorial experience. And I think about the Juan Marjan, who sat on trial, sat in judgment of the Trump trial, who had zero prosecutorial experience. He was in like family court. So what? And Ketanji Brown Jackson, I don't know that she was exactly the biggest constitutional scholar that we could have appointed, but they got through because the Senate is supposed to be where real negotiations happen, but it's not happening anymore. It's kind of like it's like children. It's like children, and it's embarrassing, and I really hate it. I think Grassley is swamp. He really isn't, or he wasn't. But they stand on ceremony, Colleen. And I get that you want your reputation to be stellar, and you served in the Senate for so many years, and this is the way it's always been done. But at a certain point, you have to see that the country is going down the toilet. You have to see that this is not usual times, that we are in times of peril and danger, and we need extraordinary men and women to step up to the plate and do the right thing, because we've seen already what the Democrats will do. We've seen it. We saw it with the budget, that or the continuing resolution, that they held it up for an election, that it did not matter to them that people suffered, because they seem to think that they can hypnotize people into voting their way. And they're really banking on the normal ebb and flow of elections where, the president gets elected no matter which party. And they usually get the House and the Senate, and then in the midterms, they usually lose it. They're really banking on that, and we have to show them that it's not so. Meanwhile, North Carolina has judges without law degrees. Yeah, New York can do that too. It's crazy. We need shit to get done. We do need stuff to get done, and it seems to me that these elected officials don't care what the people want, or they've always governed by polls, but nowadays it's not just polls, it's popularity, it's clicks, it's whatever gets the more followers. And to governance be damned, it's the craziest thing. They will do it again when it expires in a few weeks. You mean hold it up? Yeah, they probably will. And I think that we need to be prepared. And I think that these senators have to step up to the plate. And I also think these leaders, these Republican leaders need to do more because, frankly, I feel too often that Trump is out there on his own, that the ones that have been entrenched in Washington are they're just they're worried more about their payoffs or what their colleagues think of them than anything else. And I noticed that happens to my Republican friends in New York, right? A lot of my Republican friends in New York um, are afraid to talk, uh, admit that they like what Trump is doing. They're worried. They're politically correct because they're in the city, and they're brainwashed to some extent. And it's amazing to me because they think that the rest of the country is where they are, and the rest of the country isn't where they are. The Today, the gas station on the corner had gasoline for $2.12. And some of my Democrat family members were in shock that it had come down that far. And they are no fans of Trump, but they were shocked to see that it came down that far. And, if you listen to the news, you're thinking, oh, there's, everything is more expensive. But the truth is that oil is coming down. And now we have to work on the food, the grocery stores, the big stores, to also bring down their prices because their prices are artificially high. So things are happening, not always. It can't always be seen in the blue states, but things are happening. Texas, $1.97. Yeah, it's true. I'm wondering, Kyle, it's just you and me here. There's more people here, and I'm just wondering whether or not everybody is typing comments or not. I'm sorry, I'm not the best at this. But if you have a comment, type it and it'll come up on air and we can have a conversation about all of this. Here he is. Hello, Professor. How are you? Unfortunately, Facebook changed the notifying how I can notify people about the show, and we have seen a huge drop off in viewership since then. It's always something. Every time we start to go up, somebody changes something, and here we go, back down again. But it's good to have the professor with us. Now, I didn't do a clip, and I won't share my screen because it's too small. But let's talk a little bit about this tanker that the U.S. captured. Pam Bondi says that it was a Venezuelan tanker, or it was a tanker carrying Venezuelan oil, and it was headed for Iran. And Venezuelan oil is now sanctioned, and so it can't be transported. Or so we captured the tanker. And I'm waiting to hear the howls from the Democrats about how that was illegal. And I wonder if anybody has heard anything that I might have missed about where the Democrats stand with this tanker. It seems to me that the Democrats are willing to sacrifice anything. Public safety, they're willing to sacrifice the economy, they're willing to sacrifice the comfort of the American people. They are willing to do anything that they can to oppose Donald Trump. And they are trying to create or set up for impeachment if they do take either one of the houses. They don't need to have both. They need to have both to get it to go through. But if they have either one, they can get those articles of impeachment passed. As a matter of fact, a couple of people have put articles of impeachment in. And today, an article of impeachment went against Senator Kennedy for going against science. That was the basis of the article of impeachment. Staten Island Dems call it another act of war. I just, it's amazing to me. You know what's amazing to me? Our whole lives, and I'm in my 60s, is all I've heard is the war on drugs, the war on drugs. So many drugs coming into this country, killing Americans. Oh, am I blinking? Killing Americans. And finally, somebody has stepped up to the plate, figured out a way to stop drugs from coming into the country. And that someone is Donald Trump. And it's now become an act of war. Um, it just blows my mind. It blows my mind that people actually take these Democrats seriously. Because, let's take the Somali stuff that's going on in Minnesota right now. And let's harken back, right, to when the migrants were crossing the border, right? And the only one reporting on it was Fox News. And we reported on it because we got the inside tip from Rob Astorino, who sent us photographs and video of the planes flying migrants into Westchester. I remember when those migrants were brought to Martha's Vineyard, how quickly they were removed from Martha's Vineyard, how quickly, because it was just not enough room and not enough services for them in Martha's Vineyard. But it was okay to flood Texas. Their opinion was it was okay to flood Texas with them. Well, other place that refugees came in was Somalia. And I'm sorry, was from Somalia, and they settled in Minnesota. And I did a quick little study about how, what Somalians contributed to America and to other countries, because this is not the only place that they have settled, right? They settled in the United Kingdom. They settled in Norway. And you know what I found out? I found out that in the UK, 72% of Somalis who sought refugee status in the UK, 72% are living in government paid for housing. 60% in the United States are on some sort of welfare or food stamps. In Norway, it's 40%. It's same for France. It's similar for Scotland and Ireland. So what I'm not understanding is when you take in refugees because they're not doing well in their own country, shouldn't there be a plan to integrate them into society and not let them live off the backs of the taxpayer? One would think so, right? Because that was back in the day, right? In World War II, when the Italians came over, when the Irish came over, you were supposed to have a sponsor. You were supposed to have a job. There were things that were set up so that you could have a gainful life here. And that's not happening anymore. It's not happening here, and it's not happening in the UK, and it's not happening in the European countries. So I told you yesterday that I'm having a little argument with I was going to call him a gentleman from Somalia, but he's not, because now he's getting hostile. And he was trying to sell me propaganda about how America destroyed Somalia and used Somalia. And I, of course, answered back that that was untrue and that the Somalians destroyed Somalia. And wherever America goes, they help that country. Well, he told me that, fuck America today. And so that led to a lot of words. But the truth is that in Somalia, and we went through it last night, the GDP is nothing. It's the unemployment rate is through the roof. Education is non-existent. So this is a country that is I mean, it has resources, it has minerals, it has great soil. It's strategically positioned, but because of corruption in their government, they have never been able to actually achieve wealth. And so the migration out of Somalia because of poverty is enormous. And they're out, all over Africa. It's enormous. And they're basically going to Europe and to America. But they're not contributing once they get there. So what I'm saying is the culture in Somalia seems to be nobody works, crime, theft, kind of what they used to say about the Italians, right? The Sicilians, that they were all thieves and nobody worked and blah, 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 blah. And that might have been true. I guess it was back in the day. But in Somalia, they're not working in Somalia. They're not contributing in Somalia. They're not taking advantage of their resources in Somalia. And then when they go to other countries, they're not taking advantage of the opportunity there either. They're living off the government dole. That's problematic and that's scary. We need special forces taking out cartels in Mexico. That would make a huge impact. Yeah, or maybe we should just conquer Mexico. I mean, why not? Why? I mean, we're going to get criticized for being like Russia? Okay. But when you push, if you're not going to be a good neighbor, and if you think that you can undermine your neighbor by not protecting your border, then at some point your neighbor can take action, right, to protect itself. So during the 1970s and 80s, Soviet Union used to pull into Kuwait and transfer oil into Venezuela tankers under fictitious documents bound for New York City area. Oh, that's interesting. Very, very interesting. Thanks for that information, Professor. Merit-based immigration. You must be employable. Yeah, and that's how it's been for forever. But all of a sudden, it's not that anymore. Abortion became fashionable, so immigration got changed because the population was going down. I get it. But look, the reason that you want population growth is to be able to continue society and civilization, right? You want population growth so that your country remains strong and so that your society grows. But that's not what's happening. The way people are migrating here now under Biden and I'm going to just say under Biden because that's when the whole world, changed, is they're coming here and they're living off of taxpayers that are working. That is not a healthy society. That will never be a healthy society. If you can't do the basic thing of filling out your paperwork to immigrate and getting employed once you're here, then how does that benefit society? It doesn't. No, I won't shut up, Janice. You shut up or get educated, or you could stay and listen. I'll talk as long as I want to talk because guess what? Everybody gets an opinion. You can just switch off and that's just fine. So thank you, Janice, for helping the algorithm, but I will continue to speak. If you want to speak something intelligent, I'm happy to have it on the screen. You need productive growth, not a bunch of takers. Well, that's the only reason that you would have immigration to replace live births in the country, right? Or citizen births, is if they were going to be productive. And that's not what we're seeing. We're not seeing productive immigration. I'm not going to say totally, but if we're not coming in legally, and if the first thing you get when you come to America is money and accommodations beyond your wildest dreams, and you're told that you don't have to do anything for it, and don't worry, liberal, woke Democrats will fight for your right to live off of other people forever and ever because they want socialism, Are you going to look for a job? Now, we see that a lot of Mexican immigrants come here and they shape up and they get jobs, but they're also on public assistance. So while their wives and children are on public assistance, they're working off the books. So either way, they're playing the game on both ends, right? Because American workers are not being employed at union rates and with benefits and all the things that American workers demand, because they're willing to work for much cheaper and off the books. Why can they survive that way? Because they're getting food stamps and welfare and housing by pretending not to be married. So we have a problem here. We have an immigration problem. And you want to know what is pissing me off? And President Trump, if you're listening, and we need the Senate, Thune, and we need Johnson to listen to. We need you to take up immigration reform right now. Just because you fixed the border doesn't mean you shouldn't take up immigration reform. Take it up now before this session ends. Take it up, I'm sorry, it might be ended already. Take it up first next year. You must take it up. Let's really reform. Let's put it on the books. Let's get immigration reform. Because that's what the Democrats have been saying all the while, right? Why don't we have immigration reform? Codify it. Okay, they didn't codify it when they had the House and the Senate. We should do it. We need to. Putin offers dollars to women who don't get abortions. Really? That's interesting. That's interesting. Well, what's Trump doing? He's basically doing the same thing, right? Trump is giving you that $1,000 for babies born in these years for the savings account, and so that they're born into wealth and they have the ability to have a nest egg when they're born. So it's almost the same thing, Professor. I would think it's a way of making sure that people have babies and giving incentive for people to have babies. We're really broken here. We're truly broken, and it's very scary to me that we have so many people who want to now come to America for the wrong reasons instead of the right reasons. And you have Ilhan Omar, who came here and became a congresswoman to serve Somalia, not to serve the Americans. And just find me one clip of her saying she loves America, and I'll eat my words. You can't, because they don't exist. And the same with Rashida Tlaib. These are people who have immigrated here to benefit the countries they left, not here. It's a problem. It's a big problem. And in my opinion, we need to close our borders. Guys, Thune, Johnson, President Trump, everybody that's here, vet them out, give them 5 years to become a citizen. If they don't, then they have to go, or 3 years, whatever. But just let's end this. Let's codify a real reform in immigration, and let's get everybody a Social Security number, get everybody paying taxes, and let's get ourselves on the right track. We need to do that. Ask Colleen about child tax credits. Okay, Colleen, New York City had a billboard that said the best thing you can give your child is not to have another. Yeah, well, child tax credits. Well, that's, you get a credit for every child you have. That shouldn't be allowed. What shouldn't be allowed? Letting people become American citizens. I don't think that you can possibly get rid of everybody. I think that that's a great way to vet them to see if they are criminals. That's a good way of getting them off of, getting them to stop working off the books and getting them off the public dole. Kevin, I can't see any other way to do it. I don't think that there is any other way to do it. All right. Well, it's been a quiet night. I thank you all for joining me. We'll be back tomorrow. And that's the last night of the week. And we will see. I'm sure it's going to be much more on this oil tanker. So let's see tomorrow. But anyway, gas $2.12 in South Carolina and $1.97 in Texas. See you all tomorrow. Thanks, talkers, for joining.